Warning, Wrestling POV Global is not suitable for all ages. Viewer discretion is advised.
This is Evan Ginsberg, associate producer of The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke and 350 Days starring Bret Hart and superstar Billy Graham, and you are listening to WPOV Global.
Wrestle POV Global Black and Yellow brand. It's your point of view on the global stand. From north to south to east to west, they got you covered like a blanket. But I digress from elite to the hot topic. AEW Impact New Japan, they got it. Have you laughing so hard? Have your belly aching? Heard any different? I'm sure you're mistaken.
Hey guys, welcome to a very special edition of WPOV. Wow. I actually forgot the name of the title. No, I didn't. It's global. How you guys doing? I just wanted to see the look on my co-host's face. Guys, welcome to another edition of Global. I'm your host, the legend T. James Logan. With me, the gentleman, Elio Canella. Elio?
Yes, sir. It's great to be here.
We also have the lone wolf, Andy Anderson.
Pleasure as always.
And joining us, special guest star, you know him as the third wheel from WPOV Wrestling. We're talking Ric Serrano III. Rick, welcome aboard.
Hey, people. Thank you. Ding dong. Hello. I'm here.
I wish I knew
missed that. Did he just call us ding dongs?
I think so. Either that or he's trying to sell them ding dong. Is that a hostess ding dong?
Listen, if Hostess wants to sponsor us, we'll take it.
We'll take it.
It sounds better than Twinkie. Hello.
Hello. That's a bad thing, but no. Anyways, guys, we have another edition of AEW Dynamite to look at. You know what? This week, because we have a fourth guy on here, we're skipping hot topics. We're skipping all that tag stuff, whatever. Today, we're going to go, the four of us. We're going to talk about this show.
Dynamite.
And this one, we're going to have to say, was a little bit of a harder sell compared to some of the other ones last week's, because there really wasn't a giant marquee match advertised, nor actually really happened in this event. But surprisingly, I'm going to start off with saying, not a horrible AEW, not a great one, but nothing that was horrendous. Guys, anyone here, first of all, thought this was a terrible episode?
This was okay episode. Borderline terrible.
Borderline terrible?
Borderline terrible, yes.
Andy?
I don't know. Maybe I checked my brain in at the door a little more than usual, but I'm going to go on the higher end. I don't think it was a great show, but I overall I enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good show.
All right.
I thought it was a middle of the road show. It wasn't good, but it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah. So it seems that me and Elio are kind of on the same. Rick's a little bit down, Andy's a little bit up, but we're going to get into the show and decide what we think. First of all, I just wanted to really mention, we've had so many deaths in wrestling in the last little while. And I know they teased Rick about this a lot, but I know the three of us all knew beautiful Bobby Eaton from the Midnight Express. And I got to tell you, not only surprised me because not a very old guy, but what a tremendous wrestler. The Midnight Express, man, growing up were some of the best tag team matches I ever saw, with the Rock and Roll Express, with just about any team they got in there with. And a very sad thing. And, very sad too, is, as I've always mentioned, I'm a fan of the Jim Cornette show. And this really devastated Jim Cornette. He did a special show this weekend just talking about him, nothing to do with wrestling. And even talked about how he might not do any more shows. That might be the last show for him. So tough thing, a lot of wrestlers dying and a lot of people affected by that. And it's kind of a weird thing. It's a weird community, because we used to have wrestlers die all the time over steroids, drugs, or whatever, but it's a whole different generation and a whole different things. And it's a tougher thing, I think, right now. I think people are, especially with the internet, the connectivity you can have, fan festivals. Andy's talked about the old days where you never even got to see the bad guy. They'd sneak him in. He'd never come out and talk to you. Now we have a community where, everyone kind of, if you like a wrestler, you can pretty much meet that wrestler somewhere and shake his hand at least once. You know, especially if you're buying a T-shirt and he's an indie wrestler. My God, you know, you could probably take him out for supper for all.
He'll be
Andy,
his
how many
best
free
friend
suppers
for
have you
5
got?
seconds. Yeah. Yeah. Let's not go there.
All right. You know what? Let's get into this week's AEW Dynamite. And I wasn't sure what to expect. And there's some things. Well, let's start off. We, of course, start off with MJF. He's sitting there chewing on an apple, which very Carlito reminiscent to me.
Yeah, I don't know where they were going with that. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Did it seem like there was a point to the apple thing? Or was it just the visual at the end of Wardlow being angry and squishing it?
Well, yeah, I guess that's where they were going with it, to show that Wardlow was so strong. But the apple cut perfectly in half when he crushed it.
Yes.
So it's like he bit one side, but the other side was like cut in half already. So he just had it split in half perfectly. It was ridiculous, utterly ridiculous, comical even.
Well, it could be that the power of Wardlow is so symmetrical that he crushed shapes into perfect shapes. I don't know.
The most symmetrical grip strength I have ever seen.
Symmetrical grip shape.
Each finger is equally as strong as the other.
That's some pretty incredible stuff. Because I'm pretty sure all my fingers are
the
weak.
first gimmick fruit.
I wouldn't say that. I'm sure we've seen many gimmick fruit over the last couple of years.
Well, not in a long time.
Maybe in a bit, yes.
Yeah.
Well, Piper didn't use it with that coconut.
Wrong one.
That's right.
He took the wrong one.
He took the wrong one.
Yeah.
I do know, if you guys, we can't say it hasn't been the first gimmick fruit in a while, because MLW had been pulling some crap with the Von Erich squishing crap with their hands a little while ago. So, yeah, I won't say gimmick fruit for a while. Okay.
Well, and we got freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. If that's not a gimmick fruit, I don't know what it is.
Oh, somebody's got to squeeze that dude.
But I can say this: Bobby Lashley recently, like the other day on Instagram, posted him crushing a watermelon with his like biceps. So
a watermelon with his biceps.
Damn.
What a waste of a watermelon.
So he did something. I don't know if that was gimmicked or not.
I don't even know where to go with that, Rick.
I bet that the odds of that being gimmicked are a lot less likely than the odds of that apple being gimmicked.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go with such an outrageous thing. Okay. We start off our first match. Yeah, of course you are. We're going to start off the first match. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega taking on the team of Dante Martin and Matt and Mike Seidel. This is one of those matches, if I had to tell you move for move, this was ridiculously fast. There was stuff going on left, right, and center all over the place. Everyone got in every single move. There must have been at least 857 moves in the first 4 minutes. But actually, not a total throwaway match, because it didn't have that usual vacant feel that sometimes these spot fests get. You know, sometimes you sit there and you're watching, it's like, oh, this is paint by the number AEW opener. Yeah, there you go. We got a picture.
There it is.
That is a big watermelon.
That's awesome.
Now, I want to first of all say things that pointed out to you guys in this match. I'm going to throw to Andy, because Andy gave a rare compliment for High Flyers during our chat online before this. So, Andy, what stuck in your mind what jumped out at you about in this match? And just for the record, the team of Omega and the Young Bucks did win, and we'll explain it later.
All right. So now I don't know if he's been on Dynamite before and if I haven't noticed him or not, but what's the kid's name? Dante
Martin.
Yeah, has he been on Dynamite before?
Yeah, he's one half of top
his
flight.
partner got injured, so he hasn't been doing very much.
Okay.
You've complimented them before in the past.
Yeah.
Top
Have
flight.
I? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, top flight. Okay. The way this kid moved, like, I mean, there's luchadors and there's guys that are light on their feet and can move so smoothly, so gracefully. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody look that light on their feet. With everything he did, from jumping to the top ropes, jumping through the ropes, some of the flips he was doing, it just, when we see so much of the same or similar, we call it the flippy shit, but just so much stuff. I mean, it's mostly like most guys are doing the same things. Like this guy, to me, it looked like he was doing like moves and variations of moves that I hadn't really seen before.
Yep.
And he made them look effortless, and they were on point. I mean, sometimes with AEW we criticize because guys are standing around or moves get flubbed more than what we see on, say, like WWE TV. But like everything he did, now I mean, as far as a pro wrestling end of things, okay, I mean that remains to be seen. But for what this kid was doing, really stood out to me.
Mm-hmm. I get
And
that.
yeah, and just like it just. I would go like to me like I would go back. I mean, and this is very rare that I would say this, but like I would go back and watch that match again just to watch, focus specifically on him and just watch him move, because when I was paying attention to him, it was amazing. And to say that when you have like the young bucks and you have so many high flyers and high spot guys and stuff, for this kid to stand out like that, I thought was impressive.
And you say kid because he is a kid. He
20
just
years
turned
old.
20 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just turned 20. So he's been doing this over a year now with AEW. At 19, he started, and he is now 20 years old. Legit kicking ass.
I got to throw props to that. Had to have been the craziest move I saw in a long time, but the move where Omega was standing outside and he jumped off and came down almost like on a 90-degree angle.
Yes.
Straight down on the shoulders. And I was like, holy crap, there's like no movement, no room for error there.
Error, yep.
Crash
I
and
tell you
burn
what,
hard.
that spot where him and Matt and Mike Seidel were all on the apron and he just like jumped off the apron.
No, he kind of did look like a
Hurricanrana.
Like a Hurricanrana, yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I know.
So one of the things too, let's also talk about, let's give some props to Mike Seidel, because I mean, last two times we saw him, he was brutal in there. Like, I don't know. And this makes me feel better into thinking the fact is maybe he was just really nervous his first exposure on national television, because tonight he looked like he belonged a lot more. He in a main event type setting, he looked like he wasn't some guy they just threw in there, which he really did look those times. It made me worried that this dude ain't ready at all. But no, he put his own. I mean, he wasn't great, but he also wasn't lost, and he didn't look like a sore thumb like he did in the last one.
Everybody looked like they belong.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's talk about the Young Bucks. What's with this goofy? They're coming out like it's a 70s thing. They're bopping around. You've got Kenny Omega like he's trying to be Harley Race's son all of a sudden.
The elite. The elite.
Oh.
Elite.
It almost feels to me like they're trying to be more baby faces than heels, though. It's like they're doing goofy shit that's getting them over as faces as opposed to getting heat.
Yeah, they do some goofy shit. Let's give them that. I mean, one of the goofiest things I do find is the whole Kenny addressing the crowd and trying to ask them an opposite question. Oh,
yes.
Did you say no? And, he does that a lot lately, and it just makes him look stupider and stupider. And he's supposed to be the world champion.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, he realized we're live, right? Like, this is live. That's some shit you do during a commercial or whatever. You're like, you guys weren't chanting, oh, you guys were saying no, right? That's just dumb. Like, that's
first thing I thought of when he did that, just because he's goofy and with pop culture and stuff. I felt like that was a direct Simpsons reference to, are they saying Boo Earns?
Boo Earns, yeah.
Are they booing or saying Boo Earns? And that's what I feel like. Anytime Kenny does some of that stuff, it's like, okay, that's got to be rooted somewhere. It's almost like, like if we had an inside joke about Boo Earns. And I'd be like, oh, hey, Rick, are you saying no, or are you saying Boo Earns? And it's like, that's what it felt like to me. I mean, and for some people, and if that's what it is, and some people catch on to it and they think it's funny, cool. But it's a little too overboard for me. And especially, like you said, as the world champion, like comedy, to me, like comedy for like champions doesn't sell.
It doesn't, no.
That's why Santino was never a world champion. That's why Orange Cassidy's never a world champion. Comedy's funny and it's got its place, but when you're the world champion, you're the best. Sorry, man, that maybe bits and pieces, but not to that extent.
And I also want to address here this whole situation with, so the match ends. They beat up Dante Martin, who, by the way, was impressive, wiggling out of almost all of Omega's moves, until getting
They made him
caught
look
at the
good.
end by everybody.
But I want to just say about this match,
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed it because it was a predictable finish. Like you knew who was going to win this match, but it was just so damn enjoyable with the Seidel brothers and Dante Martin. It was still like, wait a sec. It made you think for a second. You were
Maybe
just
they'd
like,
win.
is Dante Martin going to win this match? Are
Yeah,
they
they're
really
gonna
going to
slide
put
him
this kid
over?
over? Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was just one of those moments. But yeah, like it was incredible, and it was probably for me it was match of the night. I really enjoyed this match.
Yep.
It- and the Young Bucks, I'm sorry, I'm sold on them. They crack me up. I love the comedy stuff. They're the chicken shit heels. It works for them. I disagree with Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega shouldn't be doing that. He should be more serious in that role. But the Young Bucks, they're perfectly placed. I love it.
Well, it seems like Kenny really does have this stupid thing where he's trying to get nudge, nudge, wink, wink jokes to the audience.
Yeah.
Like remember his stupid entrance with where the hell was he always from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yeah. Like it was a bad attempt at making a joke that everyone was supposed to latch onto, and nobody did. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
And he does that a lot. And unfortunately, it makes his humor fall flat, and he doesn't look classy. He doesn't look, which is funny because I mean, look at his face. I was like, wow, this could be like a young blonde Harley Race, the way he's growing his hair. But Harley Race wouldn't do dumb crap like this in a ring, He had some style and class. The whole thing, and then I found this extremely awkward when the match ended with Christian coming out. The whole setup of having them and then Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy come out, and then they just hop in the ring, and there's like 10 guys who are ready to beat up everyone, but now they're going to listen to the 3 guys who've hopped in the ring,
and they're going to go to commercial in between that.
So they get to stand around and look at each other and set
What
it
a
up.
bad spot to put a commercial.
Yes. Yeah. Well, AEW's got a habit of putting commercials at very weird spots. Then the whole use of the word chicken shit a lot, or just shit. Sorry, I shouldn't say chicken shit.
Yeah.
The word shit, like quite a few times in a row. I don't get it. Is it the edgy card? Like, oh, you guys have 4 shits per episode. Let's lose them in one shot. It just, once again, that stuff doesn't work. Christian, however, I thought this was probably the best promo he's cut in a while with a crowd.
Yeah.
And I was kind of worried because they weren't letting him do crowd promos in the beginning. Remember, he was always backstage or some junk.
You're always pointing that out. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad he did this. The rest of it kind of fell apart. And holy crap, all of a sudden Jungle Boy learns how to talk. Because when he started talking, I didn't even believe it was him. But here's a weird situation that I want to address with you guys, because I know in my head that I feel very off about this, is the fact that Kenny has a bunch of belts, okay? Mm-hmm. And he's going to defend the world belt against Christian coming up. But how bizarre is it that he's going to put the Impact title ahead of the cart? He's going to do this first. And I don't know about you, but for me, in a way, it dilutes the feeling. It dilutes that whole Christian Kenny meetup if they're already going to meet the week before and fight for a minor belt. I find that extremely bizarre, and I don't think I like it. Opinions?
Well, it gives Christian a chance to actually beat Kenny Omega and take the Impact belt off of him and lose to Kenny when he puts the bigger title on the line. Like the AEW title is supposed to be the cat's meow. So it makes sense to have him. All right, we're going to get these other belts off of him. We're going to also keep Christian undefeated up until that moment for the AEW title. Also, it gives Impact a huge boost trying to get Christian back, who was once upon a time the Impact champion. So there's storylines in the making. It's just if they do it correctly, and we'll find out on Rampage tomorrow.
Okay. I get the storyline aspect. I just meant that whole feel. I mean, if I'm going to go see, Edmonton Oilers play the Calgary Flames for a big playoff game, it's weird that I'm also going to see them, the week before playing a minor game that isn't worth as much, but they're still playing. You know what I mean? For me, that just takes a bit out of the hype of it. What do you think on that, Andy?
Well, so Christian and Kenny, they fight. That's the one in Chicago.
They're going to fight.
When they fight for the AEW title.
Yeah, in Chicago, but they're fighting for the Impact title this week coming up.
So who's to say Christian makes it to Chicago?
Yeah.
Oh, the Swerve story. Okay, Elio.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. For me, I'd kind of switch them around. Have the Impact title next week and AEW title. Wait,
You mean have the AEW title first?
wait, they're allowed. It's for the Impact title, right?
No. Rampage
Impact
is
title
Impact.
Okay. Oh yeah, no. This would be interesting to see what happens.
Okay.
I was getting confused when they were talking about that.
Okay.
Who was which?
After that, the ending that would never end, right? They keep playing the music. Stop the music. I got to say something. Stop the music. I got to say something. Stop the music. I got to say something. So then we get the fact that not only does Christian announce that he is going to get a pre-match before the AEW title for the Impact title, Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus are going to get a match against the Young Bucks. So,
when was the last time they tagged in
yeah.
a tag team match? Like they're getting tag team title shots like nothing.
Probably on Dark.
Well, let's face it. One of the Young Bucks actually wrestled with not in a 6-man tag team. You know,
That's
since
true.
they won the belts, have they defended it once yet? They must have. I'd hope.
Oh, of
I can't
course.
recall.
But
I would be surprised if they didn't.
If the rankings say they're the number one contenders, we believe the rankings.
we don't question them. Got it.
It really seems in AEW, once you win the belt, you get to cruise for a hell of a long time before you actually have to defend that belt, whatever division you're in. So we'll see where that goes. Next,
Kind of like Roman Reigns or Brock Lesnar, right?
Hey, Roman Reigns has been on a roll defending that title every month. He makes sure he defends it. So they're doing something right with Roman. So maybe AEW copies that and starts defending the title at least once a month.
Okay. Next, we move over to a segment of Malachi Black talking about taking out Cody Rhodes, where a part of you cannot help but feel that, yeah, he's exactly right. Cody did get what he deserved.
Yep.
I'm loving Malachi Black. That was great.
Yeah, I love this character.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys, what do you think of this look, eh?
Awesome.
It works.
And come on, that mask.
It's money.
I love that mask that he comes out with.
All right. Speaking about really cool things that work, what about Miro now? I got to tell you, I'm liking this Miro thing. He, you know, what he's saying is hilarious. What he's doing is pretty tremendous.
But he's fighting chumps. That's the one thing I don't like. He's talking the talk. He's not walking the walk. He's just like, I'm here. I'm gonna fight Fuego. It's just like, come on, man.
We can see that in every new WWE champion too. You get a bunch of chump weight at the first after the rematch, then they start getting the things in. So this is nothing new. I don't think this is all that different from any other champion in other company. Sure, it's now,
but not for Miro.
He's in that down cycle. He's only had it a couple months, dude.
Yeah, but I'm saying that there is nobody in AEW that can match with Miro. Like, there's no competition that you could put with Miro and be like, wow, this is actually pretty good. Fighting chumps like this, it's fine every once in a while, but now it's like you're putting, on Rampage, I'm fighting Fuego del Sol. Who?
For a contract. No. He'll fight harder. He needs that contract. But here's the thing: is there are some good guys that I want to see Jake Hager get in there. I want to see some.
All right, those are guys that I would like to see too. But for whatever reason, Jake Hager doesn't fight on a regular.
Probably because he's still trying to keep his toe in MMA. So
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
justify.
Sorry.
Yeah. Oh no, I was just gonna say I like to justify it, even though AEW doesn't have heels and faces. To me, I think it's a great thing that he's talking all the trash and he's fighting these lower card guys. Like, it's awesome that he's being the redeemer. It's awesome that he's forgiving guys, and he beats them, and afterwards it's like, I forgive you. Right now, I think it's a way of building that character.
Yeah.
I have a question. Where's Kip Sabian?
I don't think anyone cares. I don't think Kip Sabian's mother cares. I think this is a good opportunity to build now that character, to have a smaller up and comer be the one that works up to Miro, you know? And God, I hate to, it just popped in my head, and you guys may go, oh, but maybe it's a good time to reintroduce Darby Allin down the road. You know what I mean? He's taken on guys to crush. There's a guy who has ran with the heavyweights for a while, but I'm not saying him, but maybe it'll be somebody like that. Definitely not Kip Sabian. I don't think that's a good idea.
Possibly Daniel Bryan or Bryan
Daniel
Danielson.
Bryan? Yeah. Boy, you know
This
what?
mysterious American dragon.
Yes.
Very, very interesting. Anyways, speaking of Darby Allin, let's go to the Darby Allin match next, okay? First of all, I found myself thinking about Darby Allin after the show, and we talk about, first of all, he's a small guy. We talk about how he does this dumb stuff that we don't like, this very dangerous stuff, right? And then we say stuff like, oh, I wish he'd wrestle more. But then he has been wrestling more for the last couple of weeks, and all it makes me think is, well, this guy's too small anyways. So having him wrestle more, I think, takes away from the illusion of what he was trying to do. I think now it puts him in a deeper hole. Maybe you guys agree or not, but I think it kind of exposes the fact he's a small dude. You know, you could go past that when he was the small dude willing to jump off a building with a cinder block and kill you. Okay. But now he's just a small dude wrestling. And do you really want to watch a small little dude wrestling big guys? I don't know. But he gets a match in today with Daniel Garcia. And I got to say, this Daniel Garcia guy, kind of impressed, guys. This is definitely a star in the making, I think. I think he's got a lot of talent. Why he's hanging around with the Idiots 2.0, have no idea. But then why is Chris Stadlander hanging out with the best friends? You know, idiots just kind of latch on to people with talent in this company. What do you think of this Garcia guy? Rick, what do you think of Garcia?
From the first 2 weeks, I'll tell you this: I prefer Wheeler Yuta over this guy, Daniel Garcia. I know I got on Wheeler Yuta a couple of weeks ago, but Daniel Garcia, I don't see it. I will say this though about 2.0. There's something about them that makes me laugh. And if that's what they're trying to do, they're doing the right thing. Because the guy that blinks a lot and he just is like, I told you, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come after you. Like, he emphasizes every word with his blinking, and it just fucking works, and it makes me laugh. So if that's what their intentions are, then they are doing such a great job at it. But Darby Allin going up against them, this should have been a squash match. If you wanted me to think of Darby Allin as a credible wrestler, he should have squashed this dude quickly.
Okay. Would you say those guys put a ever shine in your heart? Anyhow, and I'm going to right out say this, and I'm going to call it back. I'm going to say in 3 months, Rick, that Daniel Garcia will be way higher up the card than Wheeler Yuta. And I think Wheeler Yuta is in a position where he's going to be pulled down worse by the company he keeps. Elio, what did you think of this Daniel Garcia guy and this match itself? Darby Allin.
So the match itself, like we said, was a squash. Should have been a squash. Daniel Garcia. Yeah, I'm not seeing it right now. Maybe if I see more from this guy, then but for now I'm just not seeing it.
Okay, fair enough. Andy?
I'm going a different route here. I actually didn't mind Daniel Garcia. I didn't mind this match. To me, this, it was a more competitive match, and maybe, I don't know. I found, and you guys know I'm not a big Darby Allin fan, but I found him a lot more palatable because to me, this was a lot more logical. This seemed a lot more, like two guys, whether you have like two big guys or big guy, small guy, and not that I would, next week they put Darby versus Miro or Lance Archer, and automatically would go back to the formula that it would usually go to, whether he gets his ass kicked for most of it, whether he wins or not, whatever. But I thought it was a good showing by both guys. The one thing that I wasn't crazy about Daniel Garcia is the lack of facial expressions, especially every time, he would do a move or something like that. They do a close up on his face, and it was just very stoic, very like there was nothing. Even if that's his character, there's still got to be more aggressiveness, more emotion than the stone face. Because especially for a guy that's not a big guy, that's not going to work. But yeah, the match itself, I didn't mind. Darby and maybe maybe if it was because my frustrations of the way his style of matches were with the bigger guys, I liked this a lot more than what I normally see from him because he was wrestling and it was a better show.
Okay, and I'm going to 100% disagree with Rick and Elio on one point here. Darby Allin should never squash anyone. He's a small guy. He should have. He should be talented enough to get the win. He should be plucky enough to hang on and figure a way to win. He should never go out and dominate anyone unless he's fighting someone smaller than him, and there isn't anyone smaller than him. It just doesn't make sense.
I agree.
And the thing with Garcia, what I don't like is the goofy ass gear he has. It is like, did your grandmother sew that for you before the show? Like, it's very unremarkable. It's very inderific, and it reminds me actually of Darby Allin's gear because he's got that weird sock pant thing going on that Darby does, and it's just like, it's not a good look, guys. And I know Tony's big on that too. Is sometimes the gear can really change the complexion of a wrestler.
Now, what's everybody's take on Sting still being around with Darby? What's the point now? Like, I get it that they want to get their money out of Sting, but really, I think Sting has done as much as he could for Darby, and which was been a lot. I think now you use Sting for someone else. Maybe Wheeler Yuta, maybe Garcia, maybe one of these young guys could benefit from Sting in their corner now because Darby doesn't need him at all. I don't think. What do you guys think?
I don't think he needs him. He's done all he can for Darby Allin.
Okay.
I would agree. It's a very tough situation because we can speculate on how and what he's being used based on his age, based on what he's getting paid. It's like you said, they want to put him on TV. While I agree that he's probably gone as far as he can with Darby, I also think he's kind of lost a lot of his luster. Like
they don't have a snow machine anymore.
No, doesn't have the snow machine. But it's and I say that, but if they turned him around and they stuck him in the middle of something with the Elite or any of those upper level guys, like no one would think twice. But just like right now, because he doesn't really do anything. I guess it's a big deal because is he wrestling on Rampage this week or next week? They said he was going to be on
next week.
Next week or Dynamite. Sometime in the next week, he's going to be on TV wrestling a match. So that's something. But yeah, I don't know because it's like, well, then how does he walk away from Darby? Like, do you turn one of them heel? I don't really see that. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm done with you. I'm going to move on to unless you're almost doing like a Powers of Pain, Demolition, switcheroo.
What I wouldn't.
Hold on. They do the thing they did a couple weeks ago. Dad, don't come out with me anymore. I got it. Sting's like, you know what? Screw you, kid. Okay, I'll go with someone else.
And that someone else could be 2.0. Have Sting and have him doing the Stinger makeup, the old school Stinger makeup.
The beach, the surfer Sting.
Yes. Surfer Sting coming out and trying different things, but they keep on losing. Have it like Sting training them to be a competitive tag team, but it just never works. They try all different versions of Sting. It just doesn't work for them. I think it's gold, Jerry. I think we got something here.
You know what?
That is an awesome idea.
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to sound mean. I'm going to sound mean here, and I don't mean to. And I know, Rick, you've seen this. I know, Andy, you've seen this. And I'm pretty sure Elio has seen this. But when you watch a match where they have a very old veteran, someone they brought in who can't really move, but he'll throw a punch and everyone will sell it like they're getting knocked out. Or you see Stu Hart, at the very end of his career, clear the ring or something like that. That's just what went through my mind when Sting started punching the guys. He just looked like a tired old man throwing a few punches that everybody was selling like he was like Muhammad Ali. And that's not the look I want for the guy you're paying every week to be on television. It's just like he's falling into Jake Roberts territory because you know Jake Roberts can't do shit right now. I don't think Jake is starting to look like
as we talk. What actually it's really starting to worry me now even more is we are going to see Sting versus Ric Flair one more time.
No.
Good.
God, no. That I think would be terrible. Does anyone really want to see that at their age and
No.
I kind of want to see it.
Just with Flair being open and him recently saying he'll never retire, and it's like just with different things going on, it's like it's going to be almost to like when WCW did the Slamboree, one of the first Slamboree pay-per-views way back when.
Legends Reunion '93.
Is that the one where they even did the match in black and white or something like that?
I think that was it. Legends Reunion.
That's almost what I feel like, a cinematic match between Flair and Stinger.
Guys, I will though say I would take that over Jake Roberts versus Sting though.
That's fair.
Okay. Wow, we are mean. We've taken mean un-Canadian pills tonight. The three.
Or an AEW version of Spin the Wheel, Make the Deal between Sting and Jake.
Oh.
Stipulations would just be.
Okay. Yeah, there's only 2 stipulations each time. Okay. Here's a weird storyline that I'm not really digging is the whole Death Triangle and the Andrade Chavo thing going on. It's nothing's really going on here. It's like they're feuding over nothing but words, and not even strong words. Are you guys buying into this? Because maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm jaded, but it really just seems like nobody has a real beef with anything here.
All I hear them doing is talking and saying the same thing every week. No one's really doing anything.
Okay.
Listen, they're just putting them on TV just to get these big names on TV. Wait till the match happens, and then this will change everything. Once the match happens, we're going to be like, wow, that was a good fucking match. I don't care how bad these promos were. That's what we got to get through. We just got to get through this crap until we get to the match. Let's get to the match, and then we'll be a different story.
What Rick is trying to say is anyway. He's the only cool part of all that.
I almost agree with you, Rick, but the thing is, and it goes back to lack of heels, lack of baby faces, lack of emotional investment in a storyline. They're going back and forth with the words. I agree with that. They're just throwing these guys on TV. They're just trying to give them a beef to have a reason to have a match. I'm sure it'll be impressive, but if they could have something more legitimate to beef about that we could get more invested in, I think would make the match that much more impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise, it's just going to turn into another match of, I was like, well, Mr. just put on other trios of the Young Bucks versus Dante Martin and
the Seidels
or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be a flashy match. Okay, cool. But
no meaning behind it.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, we really want to see Death Triangle like put these guys in their place or something. It's just
what they should have done was put the Death Triangle a little bit at odds, and by a little bit at odds, I mean have Rey Fenix be like, we should give him a chance, and then have Penta be like, no, we're not going to let him in the group, and then when the match happens, have Rey Fenix help Andrade up, like when he gets thrown outside, and then all of a sudden now you got dysfunction within the group, and we don't know who's going to side with who. That's how you start building this story. But the problem is now Pac is like, you know what? You guys focus on the tag team titles. Another tag team that hasn't been fighting as a tag team is going to get a title shot, and I'm going to fight him one-on-one. It's like, you guys, you have this story where you have these Latin guys that can turn and become something big with Andrade, and if they turn on Pac, and then you can have this whole war between the 4 of them. Yeah. But they're just dropping the ball with this lack of communication. Chavo didn't even know what he was saying tonight. Chavo was stuttering and everything, and Chavo was just like,
but the worst part
you're
is
the
he
boss.
made more sense than Andrade.
Chavo's like from the Bugs Bunny cartoon with the bulldog and Spike.
Yes.
Spike. Yeah, Andrade, you're the boss. You're the boss.
Wow, that sounded just like Chavo. I feel like Chavo was in the room just now.
But I get the idea, Rick, of trying to really come up with a better storyline here, but I really haven't we had Penta and Phoenix at odds like off and
But
on,
that's why it works.
8 million times. Well, it's to the point now it doesn't even to use it again, I think really dampens it, makes it like, oh yeah. Because they've overdone it.
You know what? From what as Rick was talking, what I think maybe might be a little more effective, because you're talking about like if there's a little dissension somewhere in there, even if you had the brothers with a little bit of dissension to Pac, have it we go and say like, oh, like we go 1 week, oh well, the limos didn't show up. What if it was like somehow it's like, you get it where they were split up and it's like, okay, well, the Lucha Brothers got a limo to the show. Pac, somehow didn't. It's like, oh well, we thought we were getting our own limos. Well, what do you mean? You'll cause a dissension, like, and then go back and forth that way. And then maybe next week it's like, oh well, Pac gets, bumped up to first class, and these guys were in coach or something. Well, how come? You mean, you guys didn't get bumped up to first class too? Like I got into my seat, I fell asleep. Like the dissension more that way versus just a simple, kind of like what Rick, like not to.
No, I get you.
But just to make it something a little more concrete, something you can kind of dig into more, where it's like, well, but these guys took the limo ride.
Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe they're in cahoots. Oh, well, yeah, but he took the upgrade to first class. Oh, well, he got, but it's like, oh, and then you have the misunderstandings about, oh, well, I thought you got well, didn't you get this? And it's, and then if something like that happens during the match, now it's like, okay, well, who's with who? Now you have some intrigue. Now I want to know.
Nah, I feel you. Yeah, because Death Triangle is just doing too much of, no, we're not with you, Andrade. They're sticking as the Death Triangle together, so it's making it difficult for Andrade to get anything going, because it's just like, what are we doing here? You guys, we said no, and that's it. We're done with you, Andrade. And Andrade's still trying, but they're like, no, we're not budging. So it doesn't really make for a good story. And I will say this about Rey Fénix and Penta. Owen Hart and Bret Hart always had that little rivalry. Even though when they were teaming up, Owen Hart always had that little, and you always wanted to watch it.
Chip on his shoulder.
Yeah. So I'm fine with Penta and Phoenix going back at it again, because it's always going to be something there. The little brother's always going to want to be better than the big brother kind of story. So I'm for it.
All right. Like, we may not agree on exactly which route to go, but what we do agree on is there needs to be a story here.
Yes.
What's happening this isn't much of a story going on. And boy, when Andrade does finally get to talk, is he from a part of Mexico that even Mexicans don't know about? Because he seems like he's talking in a whole other language when he's talking English. And I thought it hilarious when Chavo just cut in and started talking, because it was obvious we couldn't understand what the hell Andrade was saying.
You know what I think he needs to do? He needs to do what Nikki Ash is doing right now, or Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross has such a thick accent. She slows down her talking so much that she enunciates each word, each sound. That's
probably
what he
a good
needs to
idea.
do. He needs to just slow down. He wants to have a regular. It has to be difficult. When your first language is Spanish, you're able to get all your feelings out so fast and so quickly. But now you got to do a second language, and you're just like, it doesn't sound the same when I say it like this. It's just, it doesn't have that aggression. So he's just trying to sound smooth and suave, but it's just not there. So he needs to either go back and start practicing on his speaking English, or not speaking at all and have someone speak for him like a child.
I like that. I like that. But it's because some of the pictures, some of the things we see where it's like, I don't know who it is, but some of the pictures I've seen on Instagram, isn't he like trying to be like a Marvel villain or something like that? Or
yes,
or
yeah.
So if that's the kind of thing he's going for, or to me it was almost like a Scarface or Godfather type thing. I think that would fit really well what Rick is saying, where it's like you said, slow down, enunciate. We're gonna take the time and like we're gonna listen. And it's like when Jake the Snake talks about his promos about talking quietly, talking slowly. Some guys can do it, they'll do it, but it's not that effective. I think based on what Rick is saying, if he did that, if he slowed down, worked on the enunciation, I think that would add tremendously to the character, and I think that would hook people more.
Okay. I agree. Let's move over now to the next match that I got to tell you, these are the kind of matches that sort of piss me off, because it's a whole lot of nothing, but a whole lot of something going on when there's nothing of importance. We have Orange Cassidy, Wheeler Yuta, and Chuck Taylor taking on Matt Hardy, Private Party, and let's say about 87 other people who
Yeah.
decide to run in, interfere, do stuff. This is the kind of stuff. Maybe just because I've been going to a bunch of indie shows lately, but this is like the indie show where a whole bunch of extra wrestlers showed up and you don't really have anything to do for them. So you have them kind of do these weird interferences, and this whole thing is what the definition of in wrestling what a clusterfuck is. It
Overbooked.
didn't look good. It was terrible. It didn't have good results. And I don't think anything was really served. Was there any purpose served in this match? I would like to know. I know Matt Hardy. I guess the bottom line here, Matt Hardy used his own guy as a battering ram. Maybe that's going to come back to bite him in the ass later, but all the other crap he's done hasn't done it either. Guys, am I really too down on this, or are you guys seeing the same crap I'm seeing?
You tried
Worst
doing
match
that
of the
delete
night.
thing. You tried doing that delete thing at the beginning. It didn't work.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was the worst match of the night. There was nothing behind
Yeah.
this. Just a bunch of, like you said, it was a clusterfuck. A bunch of guys just going out. Oh, you got your gear? Go on out there. Go ahead. All right. You're on the show. No,
you
it
don't
was
have
bad.
your gear? Go ahead anyways.
Are we gonna do a battle royal, or are we gonna do the 6-man with everybody interfering? We'll do the 6-man with everybody interfering.
Yeah.
We got extra couple chicks hanging around. Bunny has nothing to do. Let's let her run
Bunny
in there.
didn't need to be there. Blade didn't need to be there.
It's called WCW booking.
Yes.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
just it was overbooked, and in the end, it didn't really get anybody over. I mean, if you want, like, the best you can do out of it is the whole kind of thing, like where Matt Hardy kind of sneaks the win and kind of takes all the credit, even though he didn't do that much. But I don't think it didn't get him over. It didn't elevate the other guys. It was, like you said, it was just there to throw, but it felt like it was there just to throw guys in, give them some TV time, and that was it.
I felt like commentary was trying to get Wheeler Yuta over. I
Yes.
felt like that's what they were. The main focus of this match was, and it didn't prevail. It didn't.
Well, 'cause too much garbage was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone was glazed over. I mean, they're trying to sell the fact that because he's young and inexperienced now is the only reason he couldn't follow through to do these wins.
Yeah.
Which they're promoting him as he's a very talented, just needs a little more experience. And it's like, well, I'm sorry, but nobody has experience about 87 guys charging the ring and doing crap. There's not a lot of experience for that. So I'm gonna say I agree with you, Rick. This was probably the poorest match of the night. Now, before we move on, we're going to take a really quick commercial break here because we have some information to get out to you people. Did you know that we are not the only show that is listed on this network that you're listening to? You are listening to WPOV Global. We're the show dedicated to mostly AEW and talking about other wrestling programs. You find us usually on Thursdays on whatever platform you're listening to. There are other shows, though. The flagship show, the WPOV Wrestling, it is hosted by Tony Diaz, the $50 man, Clay Cummings, and our guest today, the third wheel, Ric Serrano III. They talk everything, and I do mean everything in WWE. Sometimes they probably talk superstars if you listen long enough, but also they cover a little bit of AEW, and they'll be covering, as we'll talk about at the end of the show, they'll be covering a lot more AEW coming up. Check them out. They even have their own British correspondent, if you can believe that nonsense. They've got their own British correspondents. We don't even have a guy who'll eat poutine from the States, but they got an American. Okay. Anyways, moving on. We also have WPOV Aftermath. It's a special show that happens after every big pay-per-view. We're going to be trying to do them, I believe, in the future for AEW stuff, but we have them right now for WWE. After each show that happens, the big main event, the big pay-per-view, there'll be some iteration of any of these hosts. It could be me, could be Rick, could be Elio, could be any of the guys. Get together, we'll talk about what we see, tell you if it was worth watching, and just sort of point you in the right direction if it was something cool. And another show that we do is it appears usually on Wednesdays. It is WPOV Quarantine, featuring me, Andy, and Elio, where it is a Zoom roundtable show. That means you can actually watch us, see how ridiculous shirts we're wearing, how shiny our heads can be, whatever. You get to see it all. But every week we have a different topic, and every week we bring on special guests. They log into the Zoom, whether they be journalists, wrestlers, historians, legends, veterans, maybe they're young guys just starting out. They're people who have their opinion about wrestling, and we're going to talk about it and just talk some really fun stuff. But you can find all those things. And where, you know what? I'm going to throw it over to Rick. Rick, tell the people all the fine platforms that are available that people can watch these shows on.
I'm going to say it as slowly and clearly as possible. You can find it on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio for free.
For free. You forgot YouTube.
No, I said YouTube. Don't get me wrong. It's my script. iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and TuneIn Radio for free.
For free. I like it. I like it. Elio, if people wanted to write in and tell, make any comments, anything, tell me, I don't know, get me in trouble again, where could they write it?
You can write to us on Facebook at Wrestling POV Podcast, Instagram at Wrestling POV1, and Twitter at Wrestling POV.
Oh, and now I would usually at this, because the fourth guy's down there and it's Andy, and I would love to cut to Andy, but I was on the phone today. I brought in a legend to cover the t-shirts. I'm sorry, Andy. Please forgive me. But our good friend Bushwhacker Luke has to talk about 7 t-shirts that we are flogging now.
Whoa, mateys! It's Bushwhacker Luke coming in for a good licking. I'm with my friends from the Wrestling POV podcast, mates. I hear they don't have 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, but 7. Whoa, 7 bloody t-shirts for sale, mate. Can you believe it? Tell your mother, tell your brother, ProWrestlingTees.com /Wrestling POV. Get a t-shirt, get a good licking. Tell them Bushwhacker Luke sent you. Whoa!
Oh, thank you, Luke. And we're sure glad we got 1 million viewers that you could listen to that for. Now, we're going to take a quick little break when we get back.
Hey, wait a second. Luke didn't tell you this Bushwhacker, this Hall of Famer, is supposed to be giving us a promo and push and everything. He didn't even tell you how much the shirts were. They're $19.95 each. So look at me upstaging a Hall of Famer legend like Bushwhacker Luke. And if he's got a problem, he knows where I am. He can come and find me.
Whoa, Andy has worked.
Damn.
All right, so we're going to take a quick break, let Andy calm down a little. And when we get back, we're going to finish off this AEW show.
This is Javier Oist. I write for ProWrestlingStories.com, and you're listening to WPOV Global.
All right, we are back. Let's get back into the show. You know what? We already talked about Andrade. He was the next one up. He's got that cool look. Obviously, we all agree they got to do something about his voice, or it's not like we're even being jerks about this. I want to hear what he's saying, and it's an extreme. I'm not sure what kind of accent he has or what, but it's extremely hard to understand anything he's saying. And I'm not sure Chavo has been the best hand as of yet. Maybe that'll grow. Next, we have on Rick's favorite female wrestler, Nyla Rose, taking on my favorite wrestler, Chris Statlander.
I thought Ty Conte was your favorite.
Shush, don't tell Ty. Or Chris. Don't tell Layla Hirsch either. Anyhow, okay, I've got a whole group of them. Damn it, Andy, why you got to help me like that? So we got actually a match which was a lot shorter than I thought it was going to be. And as much as we're not the biggest Nyla Rose fans, man, she has got to be pummeling down the ratings here. She's taken consecutive losses after losses. Statlander looking good, looking like she's lost a weight. I've talked about this last week, is she doesn't necessarily look like a monster anymore, which could be a detriment. Now she just looks like a tall, lanky girl.
I'm telling you, this is what happens when you hang out with the best friends.
Yeah, they take all the food. They fall in the mimosas. What do you mean? She's so worried she's eating everything. No, I don't know. But this match was okay for what it was. But I don't know. What do you think of this one, Andy?
I agree with what you said. It wasn't bad for what it was. I didn't, you know what? I thought Nyla looked okay. I thought Chris Statlander looked okay. You had the early domination by Nyla and, some of the big bumps and whatnot on Statlander, but pretty straightforward. The shrieking or whatever of Vicky Guerrero.
God. Thank God that's not regular.
that was so annoyingly awesome. And you know what? And again, I'm not an Orange Cassidy fan by any stretch of the imagination, but even the way he was selling it and I was great. Like I'm surprised that's not something WWE never did back in the day. I mean, you know, they had the excuse me and all that stuff, but just for that straight out, you know, it's like I could see WWE would be doing it where they would have the gimmick glass and like glass would be shattering and, you know, they'd have like a bust of Vince McMahon or something and just like the thing would just, you know, go. So you know, I appreciate it. I'm like you said, I'm glad it's not a weekly occurrence, but I popped for that, and yeah, it wasn't a bad match. You know, like we talked about our standards of AEW women's matches, and it was an okay match. It was a decent match.
All right, Rick, what are you thinking of Chris Statlander?
I think Chris Statlander showed that she is bad mamma jamma, and she's somebody not to mess with. I think this could set her up for a big matchup with Jade Cargill. I would love to see those two go at it. I think the physicality of Chris Statlander is underutilized, and I would love to see more of her aggression. Her getting Nyla Rose up in the air and everything was very impressive, and I would love to see more of that. She's definitely reset it a while ago when she first came back. It was just like, man. But I think now she even came out to her own music. That's what we need. We need her to just, even though Orange Cassidy was there, at least she's getting her wins on her own. She didn't get their help. She got her own music. She showed dominance. Nyla Rose, just like Asuka needed to take a break, I think Nyla Rose needs to take a break, go away for a while, come back, do her little monster thing again, and we'll see something different there.
All right. Elio, anything you want to throw in there?
Yeah, this match wasn't bad. I like Chris Statlander. It was good to see her come out with her own music for a change, and just wasn't a bad match. I enjoyed it.
Now, we've been laughing about the Young Bucks and their goofiness. They're in the back trying to play basketball. These two little short guys playing basketball, and they're saying how they're great. They're the greatest. And one of them goes to do a layup, and out comes Luchasaurus to swat it down. And it was sort of funny because at first glance, it's like, is he stepping on that Young Buck? Which I thought it would have been funnier if he was like stepping on the foot of one of them. But no, they just sort of reminded them that they're coming up, and they walk by. Kind of a goofy throwaway segment. So I don't know if we need to really talk too much about it. But
I got a chuckle. I chuckled. I thought it was funny. Yeah.
It was funny.
It makes me want to see those four go in a tag team title match next week. Man, oh man.
Ooh, you're a Tony Khan stooge. All right. Forgot to mention, why does he always use that? We didn't bring his name up, but why does Don Callis have the same 4 words that he's got to use constantly? He always has to call someone a stooge. You know, he's always got to do these insider kind of wrestling terms.
And that's exactly why. That's his shtick. Is he's speaking like he's smart. Yeah.
It's awful. I was gonna say awful.
20 years ago, maybe. I mean, like, you know, I've never been a fan. Like, maybe that worked a little more 20 years ago, but now with everybody having access to the internet on their phones and there, like it's to me, it's tired. It's not heat. It's go away. It's just shut up.
Okay.
But I will say this about Don Callis. I prefer his go away heat over the cheap heat that MJF tries to get and several others on AEW try to get. So I definitely appreciate that way more. It's more difficult to do go away heat. I mean, I feel like it's easy, but it's more difficult than doing cheap heat, where it's just like, fuck you guys, you guys suck, you guys.
Yeah,
it's just like,
yeah, that's fair.
I think a lot of people would disagree about MJF, though. I think there's still a lot of people.
I don't know, TJ. I don't know what it is.
I don't agree either. I'm
about this guy, but it's not even about being sick of him. It's just like, what is he doing that people are just like, this is such good shit, to take a word out of Vince McMahon's mouth? But what is it that he does that they gravitate to? And you know, I'm going to bring it up. Max Caster also got suspended. He got suspended for 2 months, and he has to go to sensitivity training because of what he did a couple weeks ago. And it's just like that cheap heat, it just doesn't belong in the sport. Everybody knows I can push a button. I can push this button and I'm going to get a reaction. But it's so much more. I'm just a huge fan of psychology in wrestling. And it just pisses me off when people step up. And I'm a heel manager and I've been part of the business. And it's just like, there are just things where you're just like, you got to work for it. Earn that heat. Earn it.
Yeah, but I think Max Caster is a bad example because until this particular incident, he always had this great way of straddling the almost cheap heat, but not making it be like where you went, ooh, I can't believe he went there, which is what you kind of like want, right? And it's a very fine line, and it's a very easy step to go from, oh, that was nasty to that was fucking nasty, man. That ain't cool. You know what I mean? It's a very fine line.
But that's just it, though, because it is a fine line.
Yep.
And it's why it's why Max Caster succeeds, because if he doesn't step over the line, he's seen as refreshing, different, and brilliant. And I think the problem with MJF is people see him, he has the perception that he is constantly straddling the line and not actually going over it. So they can accept him to that thing. So a lot of people I don't agree with it, but a lot of people seem to think that he's mastered the whole art of taking it right to the line and not crossing it. So that's my take on those two. Because I also don't agree, Rick. He doesn't do much for me, but just about every wrestler and person around just talks nothing but praise about him. Yeah. So we just might be douchebags who want to disagree with people because we're that way. Maybe that's me and you, Rick. All right. So we go on with, okay, I always find this is a fucked up situation, okay? When you get somebody like Dr. Britt Baker, who is trying to be the bad guy when there's no point. She's so obviously that the fans love her, that now you sort of in a way are sacrificing a actual face in the form of Red Velvet, throwing her to the wolves because they love Baker so much. There's nothing this poor girl can do that she is going to have anyone on her side. I don't like that situation at all. I think that puts her in a bad light. What do you guys think? Yes, you with the beard.
This is where we have a tremendous issue of not having traditional baby faces and heels, because you know that if this was WWE and Britt Baker was coming out to a WWE ring in her hometown of Pittsburgh, she would do. No, not just that she make it lose. She would do her first 30 seconds or her first minute of her promo, putting over being from Pittsburgh and the black and gold and this and that, and then turning it around on everybody, and then becoming the heel by pissing on her home crowd.
Yes.
That's what was missing from that. And I mean, you're right. Like you got to feel bad for Red Velvet. I mean, even if they weren't in Pittsburgh, it's like you said, Britt Baker's already the baby face because she's just, she's got that talent and charisma and people are behind her. But, not a snowball's chance in hell for Red Velvet in Pittsburgh. And the fact that they just go with it and let her be, the baby face in her hometown.
Yeah.
Horrible.
It's horrible.
There's an easy out to this whole thing though.
Which
it's Britt Baker is from Pittsburgh. You got her wearing Pittsburgh Pirates logo and the Pittsburgh Penguin logo on her. She's wearing the colors. Take the terrible towel and step on it. And you got heat right there. So magnifying because that is the symbol of Pittsburgh. You get this magma heat and you just step on it and you just say, these teams suck. This city sucks. The only good thing about Pittsburgh is me, and I'm going to take this title and I'm going to leave this town as quickly as possible, and I'm going to do it at the expense of Red Velvet. That's all you got to do. But
Ric Serrano, but before you even step on it, I would have it like this, and I would tell you what I think about this town and these teams. I would wipe my ass with it,
yes,
and then throw it on the floor.
Yes, absolutely. I agree.
Okay.
And the worst thing Red Velvet did in this whole promo, she went out there and she attacked Britt Baker. That's the dumbest thing you could have done. The whole arena is eating everything she's saying. Now you look like a heel. You're a bona fide heel right now. There's no way you get out of that. So,
well, the only problem I have with your guys' scenario here, which you were talking about, to turn her, against the crowd, is that works in Pittsburgh. It doesn't work anywhere else North America watching this show. I don't give two shits if he wipes her ass with the Pittsburgh Penguins thing.
Every town she comes to,
she does it. Yep.
Same thing.
But let's address why they don't do it. Because she is an organic face, which they don't want to admit, that there isn't really a lot of people who've managed to have the fans latch onto them without you trying to force them or manipulate them. People just started gravitating towards her.
She's
and it was a
stone
natural
cold
thing.
at this point.
What's that?
She's stone cold at this point.
That's what I've been saying.
Yeah. So I really think the thing here is use her more like Stone Cold. Quit giving her good guys. Give her tweeners. Give her ultimate bad guys. Give her the stuff that she can, and have the disdain like Stone Cold did afterwards. He did it. Oh, well, I don't give a crap what you people say, blah, blah, blah. That would work a lot better because what's going to happen here now. You're right. Red Velvet runs out there. She looks like a heel. She's treated like a heel, yet they are not going to change her or book her any different afterwards. So it's going to make her look less.
And the worst part of this whole thing, Tony Giovanni with this DMD shit, he should make it seem like it makes him want to throw up at the thought of doing that. That she's forcing him to do this. That should be it. But he's all up there like, oh, yeah. We're going to do it? We're going to do it now, Britt Baker? DMD. Yes, here we are. DMD.
But to go back, and TJ, I agree with you. If they were going to do that, totally, I wouldn't be doing those promos. But because they're not, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what needs to be done. And to Ric's point, using the Stone Cold analogy, absolutely. Like if you're gonna make them buddy, that's like a JR and Stone Cold, Tony Schiavone and Britt Baker. So if you're gonna run with it, run with it.
And when did the switch happen? This is all Tony Schiavone's fault because they went from, remember, he was like getting notes and being forced to read things. And treated like shit to the next day she's hugging him and they're best friends for real.
Bringing up Starbucks and all that shit.
So there's just like, I'm just going to have to say there's some kind of piss poor storytelling here because things just shifted gears when they really shouldn't have shifted gears. So how do you deal and how do you carry her into the future, I guess, is the biggest question here, right? In my opinion, you either Stone Cold her or you just let her become a face total, I think it's confusing and it's a little bit harmful to the other women members of the roster who are going to have to interact with her because they're very unclear what she is. And in doing so, it makes them very unclear what they are and it takes away from whatever they're trying to do. So I think it's a bit of a problem that they can address easily. You guys have come up with some great solutions to address this problem and make it work. But it sure doesn't seem like they want to go that way, does it?
Why would they? They don't have heels and faces. At the end of the day, that's what it is.
Yeah.
They don't have heels and faces. So what difference does it make?
I call bullshit. I say they said that, but bullshit. They believe in heels and faces. So
Sure doesn't look like it watching their programs.
The only thing they have about heel and faces is the entrances.
Which way you come in. And you know how you can tell who the heels and the faces are? Is every big face has Tony Khan has purchased music for them. No, am I not? Moxley, Jungle Boy,
Orange Cassidy.
All the big faces all have real music purchased for them. And I guess that's how you tell the good guys from the bad guys. Cody, he just went out and got an orchestra to do his whole shit. So
he wasn't on the show. We don't even have to bring him up. We already brought him up twice. No more Cody.
Okay, no more Cody. All right, so yes, we have Red Velvet looking making her to be made looking like a douche. Next, speaking of douches, we have Taz And specifically, I know, Rick, I know you love this guy, but Hook actually got to stick his face in the camera and do some kind of neck thing. Ooh, he looked tough there. He looked like a 16-year-old that someone took his Doritos mad.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
going to do my Facebook promo and show you what a badass I am on my profile.
If you look at the back, Taz and Ricky Starks are just like, yeah, that's it, Hook. Yeah, man, you should. It's like, what?
You're hooking on Hook.
The one thing I hated about this promo the most, well, there was a lot of things to hate about promos involving Brian Cage, but Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, I hate the fact is Ricky Starks on his own really stands out. He seems like he could be something. Did you notice in this promo, if you were just to close your eyes for a sec, you had no idea which one was talking? They kind of sound like they're saying the same crap, the same voice, the same way. It was like, which one said that? You know, and after a while you realize it doesn't matter which one said it. It's just nonsense. They're fighting over nothing. Really? The FTW belt? I don't give a fuck about fuck the world belt. That's Rick,
Fighting over an imaginary championship.
Yeah, from some imaginary guys.
The FTW title is like the equivalent of when fans bring their titles to the matches.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm gonna grab this kid's title from the front row, and I'm gonna start defending it.
Yes.
I hope Kurt's not listening. All right, Rick, you look like you want to say something about this.
I gotta say, who better than Brian Cage? I mean, honestly, I like Brian Cage. There, I said it. I really enjoy him. I really
Elio,
do.
can you kick him out of this room?
I really think he has so much potential.
Only Rick.
You know what it is, though? With him, I want to compare him to Bronson Reed. Bronson Reed is only 6 foot tall. So, and he's just big and girthy. So when he's standing around these other smaller guys, it makes him look like a giant on NXT. But then when you look at Brian Cage, he's also big but he's muscular, you know. But when you put him with Ricky, he's short, and you put him with a taller guy like Ricky Starks, who's lanky and tall, it doesn't look right. You're just like, well, this doesn't seem fair at all to Brian Cage. So you got to give Brian Cage one of these smaller guys from AEW, have him do some dominance, and I would love, honestly, to see Brian Cage and Miro at one point. I think that will give us a good showing.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah, they definitely got a power game going on there. That's for sure. That would be interesting. Okay. Next, the Good Brothers against Evil Ono and Stu Grayson. I got to tell you guys, I had like little interest or hope about this match going in. I always find that the Good Brothers, especially lately, I love them in New Japan. I'm just hating everything they're doing North America wise. And it'd been a long time since I saw Uno and Grayson, but I got to say, I actually enjoyed Uno and Grayson a lot this match. And I kind of got I never saw them before in the light of what do people see in these guys. I think I started to see a little bit of what people see in them, and I was a little bit won over by them. And it did really seem like the commentary was finally pushing them as they could be a team to take a run at stuff. In the end, the Good Brothers still get the win after some really, I got to say, that was some piss poor sequencing at the end to make this happen. Going so far as was a Grayson who like graciously waited at least 10 seconds standing there for Doc Gallows to come up and gingerly push him off. Just, I don't know what it is, why these guys do not click anymore in North American audience. Maybe their style is more set for Japanese style and they're holding back, but I'm not, especially Doc Gallows. Doc Gallows, for a guy that big, sure does not seem anything impressive, intimidating, or anything. So your guys' opinion on this?
This was just a regular match to me. I didn't think of anything spectacular. I honestly really wanted Dark Order to have a little more purpose in this match. But what they did do is they did tell a little bit of a story with Dark Order, and they was like, well, you see, they're not all out here because of Adam Page and because of what happened last week with them not coming out to help them. So I like that. I'm hopeful that this is going to lead to a big payday for the Dark Order. Like we got the Bray Wyatt release. Maybe he comes into AEW, takes over as the leader of the house. It'll be something I would definitely want to see. But Dark Order needs a makeup. It needs to be spun upside down and changed a lot. So hopefully that happens.
Did you see anything better in them as a team out of this? Like, did they win you over as an actual team, or were they still?
They've always won me
they
over.
always
I
have?
love
Okay.
Stu Grayson and Evil Uno as the top. I think they're the top tag team in the Dark Order, in my opinion.
All right, Andy, what do you think of this?
I'm along the lines of Rick. Standard match. I was hoping for a little more, but it was what it was. I thought, I thought Stu Grayson, Evil Uno put on a good showing. And to what Rick said, it's maybe this match was more about kind of what we didn't see in terms of the rest of the Dark Order there, instead of just being about the Impact titles. So,
okay, Elio, I want to ask you, Elio, quick 2 questions. First of all, are you digging what Evil Uno and Grayson have done for the last 6 months? And did this match change any of that perception of what you've seen them as, or are they still in your mind a great team? Like, what do you see them as?
Well, so Stu Grayson and Evil Uno are the first 2 that we saw when Dark Order showed up. So I like them as a team, and this match was just a match for me. It was a good match, and it was good to see them teaming up. Because we hadn't seen them teaming in a while, so it was good to see them. And I'm not a fan of like what Gallows and Anderson are doing.
Okay, I got a quick question then. So for you guys, am I wrong about Gallows? Am I wrong about Gallows and Anderson? Like, because it seems like every time I see them on the upcoming of the show or a thing, I just kind of groan a little bit, thinking I wish there was just about any other tag team wrestling that night. No. Am I being unfair? No. Or have they just been that brutal in the last?
I just don't like what they're doing lately.
Okay. Okay. Fair enough. All right. So you know what? I've seen this Camilla girl, the NWA women champion. I've seen her back when she was Nick Aldis's bodyguard. She would stand or valet. She would stand in the background and not do anything. And I used to think, wow, what an amazingly good looking woman. Why isn't she do more? And then she shows up last week in the audience, and she's now the NWA champion. I did not know that because I don't really follow the NWA enough. She comes out, she's extremely tall. I'm thinking, wow, she's extremely good looking. Why isn't she in like one of the big companies? Then today she spoke and I realized why.
Oh,
wow. Zero charisma. For a beautiful lady, she has zero charisma and awkward speaking skills. And wow. Never have I wanted 4'11" Layla Hirsch to run her out as much as listening to this girl talk.
This is why she never spoke in the NWA, because I started watching the NWA Power when it first started. Yeah, and they would always have her and Nick Aldis out there, and every time whoever was the commentator guy would go and ask her a question, Nick Aldis would just kind of cut her off and.
Yes, that was just stick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Dare I say she's NWA's Eva Marie?
Oh no.
Oh, kind of like she never really gets to perform.
Yeah, and then the fact that when she does talk, it's just like, ugh, you don't want to hear it anymore.
Like, I get the fact she's like enormously big and muscular. I find her super attractive, but it's not enough. I mean, when you talk and it just sucks the air out of the room, it's like, oh, and it makes me think, why, Tony? Why did you let her talk? Why did Tony Khan think this was a good idea? Obviously, the NWA know what they're doing. Why not have someone step in and like, no, I got this for you, Camilla. Our manager, somebody come out and talk. Andy, am I being a douche here?
I don't know. Douche is the right word, but it felt to me. Okay, I bet that and like not like she like it's not I don't think she's that bad, but it felt like watching one of those segments from like a Miss America pageant.
Yes, the girl who doesn't really know the question and answering it.
Yeah, that's kind of how it felt to me. And Yeah, it's maybe there's something with these big muscular girls. I mean, we've talked about Jade Cargill and her promo skills, and now you have this girl and her promo skills.
They both got silver hair.
Sewer hair? What does that mean?
Silver hair.
Silver hair.
Silver hair. I thought you said sewer hair. I'm like, what's sewer hair? Am I missing something? Is this an American thing? Like a rat with a pizza? Like, am I missing something?
No, that's New York hair. That's what that is.
Do the New York thing for me, Andy. The folks won't be able to see it, but do the New York thing for me with Rick's on.
I'm from New York. Yada 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 yada.
There you go. Rick's like, I would be cutting all three of you off right now if I had control.
So, but yeah, no, it's her. She definitely needs work, but yeah, I think you're right. Like, it's go Layla Hirsch.
I think the problem too is the translation from small time to big time. As much as the NWA is a cool thing, it's a small time show. Okay. And the thing is, sometimes in the small time, you work with what you've got, right? When a dude probably should never be in the main event. When a dude should go out and do this or that. And obviously being around her and being around, like, they realize that the lady doesn't have enough skills to carry a mic conversation. So it's best. She's an awesome looking background piece that, like, ooh, and we all want to hear it. But if we don't ever get it, we still want to hear it more, right? Because to be honest, as beautiful as I thought she was, now that she's talked, I don't want to see her or hear her anymore. And that's the last thing you want, right? But then we get places like AEW has been bad for that, where they've taken a guy just because he's humongous and they give him a slot and a microphone, and you're like, whoa, this dude should not be talking. Jade Cargill should not be talking at the moment. They need practice. They need things, Remember Wardlow in the beginning? Should not be talking on the mic. He still probably shouldn't be talking on the mic. But it seems like because in these bigger productions like AEW, they don't take enough time to really get to know the talent. They just look like, well, he's bigger than everyone else we have on the card because everyone's not that big. So let the giant talk. Ugh, I don't know about that.
Rick, were you going to say something? Because you look like you're going to say something.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's just how I look.
Okay.
Oh, always like you're thinking?
Okay. Well, no, because I had something to say to that though, but I just want to make sure I wasn't going to cut you off.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It's to me something like this, and it's often criticized, and maybe it's we have to find the balance of in between. Because, we talk about how back in the territory days, guys had chances to hone the characters and the promo skills and this and that. And if someone from like Memphis came to Florida, you could tell that the Memphis guy was not a Florida guy. You could tell he was from Memphis, or if he was from Continental, if he was from Stampede or whatever. And for as much as people criticize WWE and WWE style, one thing that you hear them talk about is like, it's like, okay, well, Samoa Joe or AJ Styles, or maybe AJ because AJ came right in, but Samoa Joe or Sami Zayn or Kevin Steen, they come in, they go through NXT so they can learn WWE style. And when you have, WWE television, you mentioned Eva Marie. It's like, okay, like some people are obviously better than others on the mic, but there's still so much more polish, professionalism, how they speak, what they talk about, and if we're going to say that's WWE style, at least it's something consistent. Because what it seems like with AEW is, well, we're going to let these individual personalities have their chance to, to have the microphone. And it doesn't work because, we get these indie-rific showings that really exposes AEW and exposes the individuals for not being that elite class that they're trying to put over, or like as far as competition wise from AEW. And you're right, and it's something that needs to be more heavily focused on, at least to me, backstage with AEW, where they're working on these. If they don't, I'm assuming they don't. They need to have the promo classes. They need to have, there's certain things that we're going to say, we're not going to say. You might not give them scripted promos like they get in WWE, but there needs to be some consistency to bring these people at a similar level. Otherwise, you're going to have an MJF who, like him or don't like, but the guy can talk versus, we say like a Jade Cargill, or I'm sure if you put any of these other guys on the microphone, these younger guys, if it's sink or swim, they're going to sink.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something important to point out is as much as we can rag on the WWE, when they present people, especially in the position of being able to talk and do stuff, they give them the tools to be able to succeed. Unfortunately, and some people may think it's great like the Old West, is AEW, it's sink or swim, man.
Yeah.
And it's all great if you're going to swim and look awesome like MJF, you can raise the thing. But what happens with poor Dante Martin? They hand him the mic when he's never had it anymore. All of a sudden, a guy who's a great wrestler looks a lot less. Like this Camilla chick, I've seen her work. She's pretty good. She's big. She does that role great. But now that she's talked and exposed that part, it really doesn't make me want to see her anymore. And that's a danger because wrestling isn't just a real athletic event, right?
Yeah, and and going back to what I said though, it's not just her. Like to me, it brings your overall product down because if you get someone flipping the channels,
yes,
on a Monday night and they see Monday Night Raw and you see Bailey talking, you see Roman Reigns or Sasha Banks or whoever, it's gonna whether or not it's a good promo or not, fine. But
it can be well done though.
The speaking skills, the promo skills will be there. If I flip AEW and I'm seeing Jade Cargill and I'm seeing Camilla or I'm seeing some of these other young guys, that's like, man, like, if for that 10, 15 seconds, maybe less, it's like, this is Bush League. And that's it, you're done.
It's the hee-haw wrestling league. Like, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I agree with
this
that.
This isn't WWF.
So yeah, I guess we all kind of, unfortunately, because they gave her that time and let her sink. Probably everyone's thinking, "Hey, go Layla, please don't let her be on our television." Moving on to I'm sure this is the one thing that nobody really gives a shit about for the longest time. It involves things that nobody cares about. QT Marshall and his students. We're kind of over it. He's never shown enough to make it interesting. Now we have Tony Giovanni, who we see like 20, 30 times already in this show, is now in his storyline mode because he's going to get an apology for having a protein drink poured on him. This, of course, anybody could see this coming a mile away, that this was not going to end well for Tony at all, that this was definitely a setup for some sort of humiliation by QT, and probably someone was going to come out and do the rescue and start the new feud forward. And that's exactly what happened. In the end, Paul White, who, as far as I knew, wasn't he supposed to be a
commentator on Elevation? On Elevation.
And now he's out there choke slamming people. Tony, who I did not know had a son who's a wrestling training school, gets grabbed by QT, dragged in the ring, and gets worked over a bit before Paul White comes out and destroys one member. And who's the guy? What's that guy's name? Aaron Solo, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know who he is, Rick?
No.
Aaron Solo? Which I thought you would know this one for sure, but that's Bailey's ex-boyfriend, the one she dated.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So,
Twinkie, hello.
Ding dong, hello.
But here's the thing, right? There's a few things coming out of this. If we're going to see Paul White, do we really give a crap if it's against QT Marshall? I mean, is this what you want to see him do?
I'll tell you what. I popped.
Did you really?
I did. Paul White came out walking down
Mm-hmm.
to the ring. I'm like, oh, he about to mess somebody up. And then he choke slammed that Bailey's ex to hell. To hell with him. And now with QT Marshall, I want to see Big Show Paul White go one more time. I'll see it. Fine. Let's do one more run. Let's do it.
QT is never going to not have a paycheck because everyone wants to see him get beaten.
Yes.
I just want to see anyone beat QT Marshall up.
I just want him to be off my TV. I don't even invest the time to see him wrestle. But how are you feeling on this, Andy?
I have a couple of points. One, I don't see it being a one-on-one. I see it being a handicap match.
Okay.
Whenever it happens, that just
And
it
how
seems
does
like we're
this
just
help, how
we're-
does this put anyone over besides the guy who's retired now?
I never said anything about putting anybody over. I just said that this is what I'm kind of seeing out of this.
Okay.
The other, actually, like to me, even more of an issue than Paul White coming out that I had with this. Like you, I didn't realize Tony Schiavone had a son. But when it's like, oh my gosh, they attacked Tony Schiavone's kid. When you say kid, and it's a man with a
ass man.
full-grown beard.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There is zero sympathy. Like, Monday Night Raw, MVP goes after Goldberg's kid. Whatever he is, 13, 14, it's a kid.
Yeah.
When you they should have, oh no, they've gone after Tony Schiavone's full-grown son, adult son. like there's just no sympathy to be had there. Like,
yeah.
I get, okay, whether he's trained to be a wrestler, whether he was just pulled out of the crowd, it's still like an adult man with a full-grown beard. So it's like, I'm sorry, like, really, you want me to have sympathy for this?
Yeah.
That's even before Paul White coming out, that's where they lost me. You said kid, and then it's an adult.
Yeah, and they lost me for that because they had me for 1 sec when they're like, "Oh my God, he's going after his kid," because I have a kid. I thought it was going to be some small individual, and then when they was like, "Oh," it just like took it all out. Oh, that dude is bigger than me.
It's the equivalent, and I'm sure we're like this, and I'm almost guaranteeing 99.9% of our listeners are in the same vein. It is like watching a movie. And there's one of the characters is running and they've got a dog and like the monster's chasing them. And you're like, oh my gosh, please don't get the dog. Please don't get the dog. It's like the human can die. Don't get the dog. And then the human, and then something happens and you're like, what happened? And then it's like you see the dog running away and you're like, oh, thank goodness. Yeah. And you don't care about the guy. That's how it was with Tony Schiavone's kid.
True. True. In fact, you just made me think of, any of you guys see Snakes on a Plane?
Yes.
Yep. Wasn't the best part when the snake was coming at the one guy and he grabbed that girl's dog and hucked it in its mouth? Sorry, it just made me think of that. I'm a terrible person.
That just totally went against everything I said.
I know. All right, let's go now to the main event. The fourth labor of Chris Jericho. We've been a long road here with this Chris Jericho stuff. Tonight, he comes out and faces Wardlow. Now, here's where it was funny, because there was such confusion last week. They told us that MJF was going to be the referee, then he wasn't, and then they made something about, I saw some stuff online where they're like, how unfair is this? And so people were very confused. There were people who thought that MJF was going to be the referee. That was part of the thing. Even I started to think that when I saw stuff online, but I'm glad it was just a regular match. It was a lot shorter of a match than I expected for him for Wardlow to lose in, which we had the foreshadowing in the beginning where, of course, MJF being a jerk to Wardlow at the very end, like, you better not lose this time like he did to Cody. The funny part about this, it was only about 10 or 11 minutes maybe, and I don't remember a lot happening in it, except some really terrible
sloppy
stuff. Rick, I'm going to let you go on this because you're not happy.
Yeah, no, man. The gorilla press on the outside when Wardlow had him up, he didn't know what to do with him. And then the commentary tried to save it by saying, oh, he slammed him into the turnbuckle and then dropped him on the apron. No, he sat him down on the apron. He didn't know what the fuck to do with him at that point. So I just had to say, it was just stupid. It was just so stupid. Like, what are you guys doing here? Like, this is supposed to be I listened to your show last week, and you guys are absolutely right. Nick Gage should have been the fourth one. There's no reason why Wardlow should have been fourth. Juventud should never have been on the top 5 list. Sean Spears at number 1, fine. You know what? Juvi at number 2, fine. Wardlow at number 3, good. Nick Gage at number 4, yes. And then MJF at number 5. It makes no sense for having Wardlow, somebody that we've seen getting beaten on a regular basis on AEW television. This match was the sloppy ending with the baseball bat, Jericho talking to him, telling Wardlow, go back. And he goes back to the referee and he comes back and then he hits him with the bat in a sloppy manner. He can't hit the Judas effect effectively. Thank God they got that stipulation that he can't use it, because when he does the Judas effect, he always trips and he falls down with the guy. Like, to make that move look effective, you got to hit him and stay standing up. You go down with them and you trip down. It's just like you didn't hit him as hard as you could because your body went with it. So it was just piss poor match. This was my second worst match of the night. Not looking forward to next week. The only thing I am looking forward to for next week is the crowd singing Judas. Yeah, because they're going to sing it regardless, and that's going to be the best part. Other than that, this was shit.
Elio, tell me what you're thinking on
this match. And the Labors of Jericho, they did this all backwards. I even said Nick Gage should have been the fourth labor and the Wardlow should have been the third or the second or whatever. But yeah, this whole match was just sloppy. Okay. And with that ending, this wasn't good. My second worst match.
Andy, you want to tackle any of this?
Instead of calling this the 5 labors of Jericho, this should be the fans' labor of Jericho, having to deal with all this. To me, I mean, you know, and I don't like to be critical, but Jericho Jericho just looked heavy again, like not so bloated in the face, but just like his stomach and like, I know sometimes he poses the photos and he's still able to like pop the abs, but I mean, it's just, I don't know if he's got to change the ring gear or what he's got to do, but he doesn't look good for me. You know, and to me, to essentially make this a squash match with him kind of sliding over, it didn't really make me get behind Jericho. I don't think it really did a lot for Wardlow. The sloppiness was already mentioned. The press slam into the ring post. I think a boop on the nose from Chris Statlander is probably stiffer than the ring post gorilla press slam. I don't know. I think I'll just be glad when this thing is over, because I don't even want to say this is really a good idea on paper, because you write this down and it's like we said, like, you know, as much as I don't like being the armchair booker, like, man, like, yeah, like it's not making a lot of sense. I don't think it's really doing anything for anybody. It's not elevating anybody. Mm-hmm. It was disappointing, and Rick's right about the Judas effect and him falling down. Soon as they announced, no music, that was the very first thing I thought of is, yep, they just want to have the people sing it. Yeah. And you know what? Good on him, because that will probably look cool. It'll probably go over well.
And me and Elliot will be singing along.
There you go. Yep. But like, really, it's like, oh, well, you can't do the Judas effect. But I mean, doesn't he have like 1,004 moves?
Yeah. That's true.
So, Walls of Jericho, Code Breaker. It just.
He's going to end up doing MJF's move.
Oh yeah, that's probably what's going to happen, because it's a pretty easy move.
What is MJF's move?
The arm bar.
They call it.
Now, here's the things that I've had real problems with the labors of Jericho. I get what the intention was. The intention was to make Jericho look a little stronger, but also to give him that kind of story where he's being worn down. MJF is manipulating everything so he doesn't have to fight a full at strength Chris Jericho. That's the storyline, right? Yeah. The problem is Jericho has looked bored, tired, and out of it since match 1. And he hasn't looked like a strong guy who's gotten weaker. He's looked like a strong guy who's just held on for 4 matches and managed to get a win. And so that didn't do anything. It didn't elevate Jericho for a last run, for a last hurrah, the veteran who still got it in him. Because most of the times we're questioning if he's got it in him now. You know what I mean? And I don't think that was a good intention. The other thing is, and I've never talked about this, I've always just bit my tongue, but I'm sorry, the Judas effect is the stupidest move in the world. He's only used this since the inner circle thing. It's just a guy leaning in with his elbow, and they treat it like it's like he's killing people, yet you watch it, you know? It's like the old day of watching the abdominal stretch, a move you knew that meant nothing, could do nothing. It's just a pose. So,
Or the leg drop.
yeah, you know, you watch these things, and the part about wrestling is what makes a great hold somewhat effective is if it looks like in your minds, just even if your mind for a second could say, wow, that could hurt, or you know, if he just did that, you know, if you could just make you for a second believe the move would hurt, you've won. But when you're doing an elbow and like Rick says, and you fall over, it's obvious that there's no moment, you know, there's no weight to it. You're just spinning around and holding your arm up and gingerly tapping someone if it's going to actually make you trip and fall. So it takes all this out. So to hear that you're going to take out, oh, that's his big stipulation. You can't use the weakest, phoniest looking move that you've ever done in your life, Chris Jericho. For a guy who's got 8 million other moves, pretty poor thinking logically on MJF's half. So I'm sorry, this storyline has not done it for me. The Labors of Jericho, I think Andy wins the internet tonight by calling it, you know, the labor for the fans.
The fans, you know? Labor of Jericho.
Yeah, it's yikes. It's yikes. And this I thought was a pretty poor match. It was, you know, it wasn't, at least it didn't suffer from how bad the best friends match was. You know, at least it didn't have the indie rivet schmoz, but it's still a poor match. Now I'm going to have to ask you guys if we're going to do this as a report card and rate today's thing after all we've talked about.
Can I just throw in one last thing though about this though?
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about the Labors of Jericho and the rematch for next week. So let me throw this question out to each of you. Who goes over in that match next week?
Chris Jericho. It's a vanity thing. He goes over.
Jericho.
MJF, I think Jericho's done.
Okay.
I think he loses and he asks for one more match, and MJF says, "Well, if we're gonna have one more match, then we gotta make a bigger stipulation, and you retire if you lose again." And I think that's what's gonna happen.
And then do they bring in Lance Storm for that last match?
Hey, why not?
That's how they said they want to retire, right? Like that's supposed to be, that was their first match. That's supposed to be their last match. I'm going Rick's route. Not necessarily about the whole, you know, what happens after, but not that it's a bad idea. But like to me, MJF needs to go over. You know, because it's more about building him, and you know, and then Jericho can say it's like, okay, well, you know, he was already weakened, but if Jericho goes over, even if it's by nefarious means. To me, that does nothing for MJF. That does nothing for the Pinnacle. That just shoots all of that to hell, as far as I'm concerned.
But it looks like they haven't cared about that in the past, right? Like they've letting Jericho win stuff and at the expense of others. That's the only thing I worry about. Like I don't want him to win, but I think it's a vanity thing for him.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, no, I'm along the same line. So I think Jericho is going to win just because he's Chris Jericho. So like all about him going out on top.
You can always say MJF lost to the legendary Chris Jericho.
Yeah.
Right? At least that's what Jericho and, you know, AEW officials will say. All right, so let's take a look at our entire card. Let's make a report card. We're going to start off with Elio. Elio, what are you giving this week's AEW Dynamite?
So I said this wasn't good and it wasn't bad for me. It was middle of the road. I'm going with the C.
Okay. Andy.
Because I thought it was pretty good, but there were still some low points. I'm going to go B-.
Fair enough. Ric Serrano III.
And because I was riding that line of terrible, I'm going to go with a D+.
Whoa!
Damn.
Plus on the show. Okay, fair enough. Guys, going over it again, I realized there was a lot more schmoz than I thought. I'm gonna give it a C, straight across. I didn't hate it, but the more I've talked about it, the more I realize there's some of the things that I definitely did not like, and things that I thought were poorly handled. So, folks, I guess that gets us right probably in the middle. It probably rates around a C, maybe.
Yep.
Yeah. But Rick, I think we have a little bit of announcement to give our fans
Absolutely.
following this last show. First of all, I need to hear Andy say Dynamite, AEW Dynamite once for me tonight.
All right, well, set me up with it with what we were just reviewing.
Yeah, Andy, what the hell was the name of the show we were just doing?
AEW Dynamite.
Woo. And does Elio ever say anything on the show that's except he's not sure what's going on? No, because he'll say that on quarantine. I'm sure you'll say that on quarantine. But so, Rick, how do we go about telling the people about this?
I'll tell you right now, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be our last episode of Wrestling POV Global. The Global guys are going to be focusing more on WPOV Quarantine from here on in the future. And me, myself, Clay Cummings, and Tony Diaz, we're going to be covering AEW, Rampage, and Dynamite more in depth. So you guys can tune into that every Saturday. You guys will still get your AEW news. We told you guys that we are hardworking at what we do, so we want to give you guys the best shows possible. So stay tuned for Wrestling POV Quarantine. These guys are the best at what they do. They're gonna get the best out of their guests, and we're gonna be moving forward. So this is gonna be our last episode of Wrestling POV Global. Every now and then we may come back and do a global episode from the past, like we've done before, and talk about stuff that's happened in the 80s and 70s, and we'll bring it back every now and then. But for the time being, this will be our last episode of Wrestling POV Global. These guys have been amazing. I love these guys like brothers, so they've done an amazing job from episode 1 to episode 143. Congratulations, guys, on getting this far. We're going to move forward into quarantine, into the future, and that's it. Actually, I have something to say. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
You have something to say, like you weren't just saying something.
Yes. In the meantime, and in between time, that's it for the last edition of Wrestling POV Global. Bye now.